Hey guys, it's Lennon from Baseball Development Group. Today I just wanted to go a little bit more in-depth on a topic that I've talked about a little bit on Twitter and Instagram, and it's this idea of avoiding the dead zone with your fastball. Specifically, we're talking about four-seam fastballs in this case. So what is the dead zone? This is basically when your fastball has equal parts horizontal and vertical break. So this is measured in inches, and they don't have to be exactly identical, but basically we're looking at a range of about a half an inch separation between the two pitches. That's what we would consider a dead zone. So this is basically how hitters would describe a pitch as being straight or flat. So there's not a lot of movement to it. There's not more rise to that ball. There's not more run to it. It just kind of travels. It just kind of travels on a straight path towards the plate. And typically this results from spin directions of 130 or 1030 that are presented on Rapsodo. So here's just an example of a dead zone fastball. And what you'll see is that this is a very prototypical kind of release point for a lefty. So it's that high three-quarter slot. And you'll see on the video there that the horizontal and vertical breaks are pretty identical, right? Along with that spin direction being close to that 1030 mark that I talked about earlier. So now getting into, is this actually a bad thing? And not necessarily. There are a lot of pitchers in the MLB and in professional ranks that do throw within this range. You just have to understand that if you're in this kind of dead zone, you're going to have to be a little bit finer with your command of your pitch or a little bit more reliant on your off-speed pitches to get swings and misses. And lastly, this can also be quite a low-hanging fruit for a lot of guys. We're really only talking about a couple of minutes or degrees of a change in that spin direction will get you out of this zone. So how do we actually get out of this? The overarching theme in pitch design is don't be average, okay? And this is exactly the way that you would get out of this range. So if you're at that 130 mark with your spin direction, you could stay in that area, but you could increase your spin rates, you could increase your spin efficiency, or even drop your spin efficiency, and that could take you out of that range. So really there's lots of ways to do this, and we have to find kind of what's right for the athlete. So generally speaking, changing the spin direction slightly on the pitch is going to be your best bet. Again, if we think about the 130 kind of range being very prototypical, coming out of that high three-quarter arm slot, what we would want to see guys do is maybe alter their arm slot a tiny bit, right? Or 9 times out of 10, we can just have a subtle adjustment of that grip with the fastball, maybe going from a wider grip on the ball to a little bit of a closer grip, changing around the thumb positioning slightly, right? And like I said, all we're really looking for here is about a 10 to 15 minutes change in that spin direction, and that's going to push us out of this range. As well as, like I said, if you do have naturally raw spin rate, or you have above average velocity, or you even have a very high Bauer unit, so you have a high velocity to spin rate ratio, that can also push you out of this kind of dead zone with your fastball. So that's really what the dead zone fastball is, and that's kind of some ways that we can tackle this. Like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be an overall low-hanging fruit when we're doing pitch design sessions with our athletes.